This video is on the objective make a conclusion and interpret the results for testing the difference between means for paired data. And this is, when you see paired data, right, you should be thinking dependent samples, right, where each pair of data in the corresponding samples, is related to a particular object or a particular person. And this is using the p-value approach. Alright, so again, if you want to see more about the topic, click on More Instruction, look at their videos, their examples, their notes, and hopefully those help you. Alright, so the question is, a researcher wants to test to see if husbands are significantly older than their wives. To do this, he collects the ages of husbands and pairs them with the ages of their respective wives for a random set of married couples. Suppose the data were collected for a random sample of 12 couples, where each difference is calculated by subtracting the age of the wife from the age of the husband. Assume that the ages are normally distributed, right, so that way the average differences will have a t-distribution, student's t-distribution with 11 degrees of freedom. Now, they're giving us a lot of information here. They're saying, using a test statistic of, t equals 1.434, the significance level alpha of 5%, and the corresponding p-value between 0.05 and 0.1. Draw a conclusion for the appropriate hypothesis test, where the null hypothesis is that the mean difference, the average difference in ages between husbands and wives for all couples is 0. All right, so this null hypothesis is that there is no difference in age between all husbands and their wives. And the alternative hypothesis that mu sub d is greater than 0. This is the statement that basically husbands are significantly older than their wives on average. Right? The difference in their ages is greater than 0 on average. Okay, so they gave us everything we need here. Right? And you've seen it before in other assignments when they have this make a conclusion and interpret the results for a test. Usually they give you enough information where you really don't have to do all that much. I don't need the calculator for this one. So like here, they gave us the p-value. Alright, so I'll write out the null hypothesis that mu d equals 0, the alternative hypothesis that mu d is greater than 0, which was the claim being tested. And this would be a right-tailed test if you were actually talking about what kind of a test this is. But none of that really matters because they gave us, the significance level alpha is 5%. And they told us that the p-value, now they didn't give a specific p-value, but they said the p-value was between 5% and 10%. So the p-value could be like 5.2% or 6% or 7.3%, whatever. The p-value is some number, some value between 5% and 10%. So as you can see from my inequality here, clearly the p-value is greater than alpha. Right, I don't know exactly what the p-value is, but from that description, I know that the p-value is greater than 5%, is greater than alpha. And if you recall, with this p-value approach, if the p-value is greater than alpha, then you do not reject the null hypothesis. Okay, so I'm failing to reject the null hypothesis. So that means I'm keeping this statement that mu d equals 0, the population average difference between the ages of husbands and their wives is equal to 0, or there is no difference on average. I'm keeping that statement that there is no difference between husband ages and wife ages on average. And if we're keeping that statement, it means we're not accepting the other statement. So we're not supporting the claim. Right? We would say here that there's not enough evidence to support this statement that men are older on average than their husbands are older on average than their wives. Right? And that's all we're going to have to enter, right? Those two things. One is, I don't reject the null hypothesis. I fail to reject the null hypothesis, again, because the p-value is greater than alpha. And then what's the conclusion? All right, let's see. This statement here says the conclusion of the hypothesis test is that there is sufficient evidence to suggest that husbands are significantly older than their wives. No. Right, I said we're not supporting that statement. So this is the conclusion, that there is insufficient evidence, not enough evidence to suggest that husbands are older than their wives. And it's, again, simple as that. They gave us the p-value. They gave us the significance level alpha. And that's all you need. All right, that's all you need to be able to make your conclusions. All right, so hopefully, you've seen the p-value approach before. This is no different. Right? It's just, the scenario is different. That's all. The parameter is different. It's, mu d here instead of mu1 minus mu2 or something, or a proportion or whatever. That's the only thing that's different, is the scenario. But the procedure doesn't change. You just take your p-value, compare it to alpha, and then make your decisions, make your conclusions. Alright, so hopefully watching me go over this helps, and also looking at that more instruction if you need to, or reading the answer explanations when they come up. I'm hoping all this helps when you go through this material on your own. And thank you for watching.